So there's been a lot of talk on the Hill in Washington about jobs. And Tom Friedman, in a recent article in the New York Times, said, well, if we want more jobs, we need more Steve Jobs, which I thought was a brilliant remark. So, and God, we just lost him, and what a loss. I mean, here was a man who really thought with the eyes and brain of a child. And he took science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, as the geeks like to call it, and he combined them with innovation and entrepreneurship, and he changed everything. I mean, everything that we touch, feel, see, and do now is resonating in all sorts of different ways. And he began his journey when he was 20. So guys like Mark Zuckerberg and Sergey Brin and Larry Page and Bill Gates, they were all young entrepreneurs that did the same thing. Science, technology, engineering, and math, combined with innovation and entrepreneurship. So that's kind of the special sauce of this country. I mean, America, what do we do best? We innovate. It's how we got to the moon. It's how companies like Facebook and Google and Microsoft were born. And it is our sauce. We need to cook more of it. So how do we do that? Well, at the Conrad Foundation, we created the Spirit of Innovation Awards to grow you, to grow the next generation of innovators and entrepreneurs, and to give young minds an opportunity to jump out of the box, to think outside the globe, and to innovate. And we invite them to create products using science and technology, engineering, math, or STEM, and to solve real-world problems. Now, these kids are not making tchotchkes and stuff. They are working in aerospace, in energy, and cybersecurity. This year, we're going to challenge them to solve problems in nutrition. So instead of poking them in the chest and saying, don't eat this or that, we're going to invite them to solve malnutrition and obesity and healthy lifestyles. And when you let kids pop out of the box, or what I call the education Cuisinart, where we stick kids in and we just stuff facts in their heads so that they can pass a test, when you pop them out of that box, they're unbelievable. They come up with stuff that's just amazing. So we are just now entering our 5th year as the Spirit of Innovation competition. And we've got kids doing just rock star things. We have a little team out of Katy, Texas that participated with us a few years ago. And these kids created a generator that harvests energy from the heat vents in the deep ocean to create low-cost electricity. Those kids now have 2 patents, and they've been featured on the BBC, and they've been archived into the Kennedy Library. That's cool. We've got another team, a couple of sisters, who created a nutrition bar meeting NASA standards for use in microgravity. They've been at the White House. They've been interviewed by CNN and Fox, and their little nutrition bar went up on STS 134. And the coolest part is they got interviewed by MTV. So, geek is chic. So, and then we've got Madison, who's with us today, whose business plan was taken into a Chinese university as an example of how to write a business plan. So yes, we have turned geeks into rock stars, and that's the whole point. And so I've brought some of our rock stars with us today, so you get to meet some of our teams and listen to their amazing ideas. And I'd like to introduce some of them to you right now. This is Cole and George. You're up, you got your mic, rock and roll.
Thank you, Nancy, for that introduction. Hi, guys. My name is George Xiaoguan. I am 17 years old. I'm a senior at Beverly Hills High School, and I am a young entrepreneur.
And I'm Cole Hackbarth, a sophomore at Beverly Hills High School. Yeah.
Last year, we participated in the Conrad Foundation Spirit of Innovation Awards. Our product, Dependable Ride, your safe ride home.
So, Dependable Ride is a free smartphone application that allows you to send a push notification to your nearby friends and family, alerting them that you need a ride.
You don't have to hand off. This is big stuff here. We're good.
So what is the problem that Dependable Ride is trying to solve? Originally, we want to reduce the amount of drunk driving accidents that occurred in the world each year. But we realized that the problem is a lot broader than that. Everyone's been in a situation when they couldn't find a ride very easily. And if you were ever in that situation, that's the problem that Dependable Ride is trying to solve.
All right, so from launch, Dependable Ride will be available for the major smartphone platforms, including iPhone, Android, and BlackBerry OS. It will be free for all our users, and whenever someone opens Dependable Ride, they'll see a big button that says, Get a Dependable Ride, allowing us to reach all markets, including children, elderly, the teens, drunken users, and sober users. Now, can't forget about them. Now, we've also designed advanced menus so that drivers can see who they've given rides to or where users located. And we've also set whitelists and blacklists that allow a user to see specific users every time or block all requests from a certain user.
So what's the market for Dependable Ride? Teens, students. I know after school, everyone's searching frantically for a ride home. And I'm no exception, right guys? So, you can easily go through your contact list, calling and texting every single one of your contacts, but it's so tedious and inefficient. With Dependable Ride, a student can easily notify both their parents and their friends that they're in need of a ride. Now, adults. I know everyone likes to go drinking sometimes, right? I mean, I wouldn't know, I'm only 17, but I heard it was pretty fun. So, if you ever find yourself in a situation when you're too intoxicated to drive home, Dependable Ride is so easy and simple to use that even when a person's intoxicated, they can simply find a safe ride home. Now,
Rock on.
we all have parents that want us to drive them places, right? My parents want me to drive them to the grocery store all the time. With Dependable Ride, the elderly can easily use Dependable Ride to notify both their children and their friends. Now, in the past, we held several focus groups at Beverly Hills High School. We asked the panel of both students and parents if they were ever in a situation where they needed a ride but couldn't find one easily. Every participant answered yes.
So, when marketing Dependable Ride, we're going to make it free. But to generate revenue, we're going to use location-based advertisements. Now, let's say Joe is at a bar one night. Joe got pretty wasted. But he was smart enough to use Dependable Ride. And Joe wasn't too lucky. He did not get any responses to his ride requests. So Dependable Ride instead sent him a taxi. Joe graciously accepted the taxi, and Dependable Ride made a percentage of the profits. Now, the next day, Joe got a push notification on his smartphone alerting him of products and services that are located around where he got the ride from, giving him an incentive to go back to that area and do whatever he did again, or go back to that bar. This is how we'll work with advertisers to increase their revenues and our own. Dependable Ride will be shipping in the coming months, and we'd like to thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very good. Excellent.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Kern. I am also a student at Beverly Hills High School, a 17-year-old senior. I'm a young entrepreneur, and I do not want to become a lawyer. Over the summer, I worked at a location called JPL. JPL is the premier NASA location for unmanned space exploration. I worked on a project called the MER, or Mars Exploration Rovers. Most people know them as the two rovers that are currently up there, Spirit and Opportunity. Every single day, they collect about 7 terabytes of data, which is a lot by any standard. But JPL has a problem. How do you store 7 terabytes of data? The first problem you run into is cost. Storing 7 terabytes of data is extremely expensive because you have to pay for things like upkeep, personnel, and real estate in order to put these hard drives and servers. But it's even more costly because you have to make a backup. This isn't any small kibbles. This is probably the most important scientific data that was collected that day. So losing it is unacceptable. Currently, the solution looks like this. The data comes down from Mars and is stored on JPL's campus. Some sort of backup software then runs, which then copies that data and stores a backup somewhere else on the campus. The problem with this is that it's not very cost effective because JPL assumes full liability and full costs of the maintenance. My colleagues and I worked on a different solution. It utilizes cloud storage, which means that somebody else takes care of most of the costs of storing the data. In this situation, Amazon is taking up some of the slack for storing the backup data. But how does this work? How do you keep track of your data? Well, let's say you have an 100 megabyte file, and you want to back it up. Well, what you can do is you can split that file into 10 megabyte parts. Now, if you combine these and then duplicated them, you'd have the original backup. But that uses twice as much space and thus twice as much money. Instead, what our algorithm lets you do is add on 5 extra chunks, shown here in red. These extra chunks you can then place in different locations. But they have an interesting property. They're not like the other chunks. Instead, they can stand in for any one of the other missing chunks. What this means is that given any 10 of these chunks, whether they be the ones shown in green, or the first 5 in green and the last 5 in red, you're able to retrieve the original data. The interesting property of this is that you can put this data on different locations, like JPL, or Amazon S3, or Google's App Engine. And even if one of these locations goes down, you are still able to retrieve your original data. Now, money speaks. This causes an 80% reduction in costs. We're going to be licensing this product to companies that have similar data storage problems, but releasing the core algorithm, the core part of it, as open source, so other people are free to use it and modify it. This is also what I will be submitting for the Conrad Foundation Spirit of Innovation Awards later this year. Thank you.
Wow. You needs the clicker.
Great.
Follow that, Madison.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to try. OK, so my name is Madison Friedman. I'm a sophomore at Claremont McKenna College, which is 40 miles east. And any of you who drive on the 10 regularly know that at an average speed of about 30 miles an hour, it took me about 2.5 hours to get here. So I competed in the Conrad competition a couple of years ago with some teammates who I'm representing today. And basically, our project dealt with issues of astronaut health in space. So when you go into space, contrary to what it looks like in Star Trek and Star Wars, you don't sit down, you don't walk, you don't run, there are no phasers and laser guns. You're just floating around. And after a while, in microgravity environment, your bones start to deteriorate. Your muscles start to deteriorate, and it's, for astronauts who spend periods of up to 6 months in space, it can cause long-term health problems, as well as costing NASA lots of money to rehabilitate the astronauts when they finally get back on the ground. So in space, time doesn't equal money, weight does. So it actually costs $22,000 to launch 1 kilogram into low Earth orbit. You know, the average spacesuit right now being worn by astronauts is about 50 kilograms, so it actually costs $1.1 million just to get the spacesuit for the astronaut into low Earth orbit. So now our goal here was to try and combine issues of saving weight with also helping astronauts avoid some of the more detrimental side effects that they can face for extended extravehicular stays in space. So how did we do this? Well, we designed a suit that utilizes mechanical counterpressure, whereas normal spacesuits are actually pumped full of air to simulate atmospheric pressure. Mechanical counterpressure uses materials such as Dacron, Nomar, to kind of bind the astronaut's body together and simulate atmospheric pressure. This saves weight, and it also enables the astronaut to have more mobility, and it makes it easier on the astronaut when they're doing extravehicular activities. Also, we invented a system that incorporates advanced health monitoring to kind of centralize all of the things that mission control would do on the suit. So you'd have sensors taking, you know, blood pressure, heart rate, that sort of thing, relaying all the information to the astronaut in real time, as well as to mission control to make sure that everything's running smoothly. And lastly, in an effort to counteract muscle deterioration and bone decay, we incorporated a system of electromuscle stimulation, which would stimulate the muscles every so often, allowing the astronaut to remain active without having to waste time trying to, you know, run on the treadmill in space, which is harder than it sounds. So what did we learn? Well, the Conrad Foundation gave us a lot. You know, it taught us how to write a business proposal well. It taught us that, you know, a product is only as good as the company that's built around it. It taught us the importance of intellectual property. They work with a law firm called Arndt Fox for their intellectual property, and they help students coming up with great ideas like these people here, filing patents and that sort of thing. We have a provisional patent filled out already. And it also teaches the economic value of friendship. Now, for organizations like this one, you know, I'm sure something you'll agree with is that you know, friendship and meeting people and being social, especially in a city like Los Angeles, is perhaps one of the most important things that you can have. And without Nancy, I don't think any of us would be here. So I just want to thank her for putting up with all of us. And
my name is Talia Naromid. I'm a senior at USC. I'd like you to take a moment. Imagine that you're back in high school. You're sitting in a classroom at your desk, a stack of textbooks in front of you. What classes are you taking? Physics, biology, art history, literature, chemistry? High school and college are structured in a way to teach you the fundamentals and then to guide you in specializing in a specific field. Before I learned about the Conrad competition, I myself was preparing for a career in medicine. I knew that I wanted a career that would allow me to help improve the lives of others. In 10th grade, in pursuit of that goal, I began doing research on leukemia at the UC San Diego Nanotumor Center and was eventually published. In my senior year, I heard about the Conrad Spirit of Innovation Challenges. I had participated in multiple other science competitions before, but the challenges were different. The Conrad Spirit of Innovation Challenges required students to pinpoint a problem, synthesize and integrate topics from multiple fields, and to create a viable solution. For my team, that meant applying technology and miniaturization ideas to create an a platform that would allow for non-invasive monitoring of vital signs in a pair of glasses around the eyes. Now let's go back to high school. In high school, consider this. What if instead of being encouraged to specialize in a specific field and taking all the courses around that field, you were encouraged to focus on problem solving and try to gain as broad a knowledge base as possible? Most students will tell you today that trying to memorize theory is not fun. What is fun is that idea of problem solving and seeing a problem that you could, coming up with a solution to a problem, and that is the exciting part. And excitement is a valuable currency. What the Conrad Spirit of Innovation Challenges does is taps into that currency, taps into high school students' excitement, and turns it into capital. And isn't that what entrepreneurship is all about? My first exposure to entrepreneurship was through the Conrad Spirit of Innovation Challenges. And at age 17, I think that was way too old. Now, right now, the world we live in is not the world of our grandparents or that of our parents. A college degree does not mean success. Young entrepreneurs have to make their own opportunities. Steve Jobs was a reminder. He made sure that people who saw the world differently were the ones who changed the world. And the Conrad Spirit of Innovation Challenges taught me to look at the world differently. It changed the course of my life. Because of the challenges, I decided instead of pursuing a career in medicine, to pursue a career in computer science and business administration. That's the majors I'm at right now at USC. Because of that, I realized that if as a doctor I could help improve the life of one person at a time, how many more people's lives could I simultaneously improve with an application or a medical device that could help detect cancer or some other medical problem? Now, right now, high school students don't get much exposure to technology, innovation, or entrepreneurship. And it's unfortunate because 13 is a new 20. And 17 for me is way too old. So think about it. Does anyone know the average age of the engineer who helped on the project that put Neil Armstrong on the moon? No guesses?
Forget Neil, he was only the first.
He was only the first? 24, yeah. And the science that's the science that fueled that mission is in our high school textbooks. So why can't a high school team put a man on the moon? The answer is they can. But there's a reason they have not. It's because high schools are so focused about teaching physics, biology, chemistry, they lose sight of the applications those have in real world. You never learn about the applications of physics or biology, and you never see it, you never have a chance to play with it hands-on. So what the Conrad Foundation does is it's trying to change that. The Conrad Foundation teaches us to think big. Don't only think about the answers to your homework, think about answers to coming up with answers to real-world problems. They help students to think big, to look to the stars for their ideas, and then they help them to get there. Thank you.
So we can't reverse engineer Steve Jobs, but what we can do is give these young minds an environment to create and innovate. You could call it a thinkubator, and we do. So I just want to wrap by saying to you, these kids are awesome, and we need to leave a better country for our children, but we also need to leave better children for our country. Thank you.
Thank you.